Dear ladies and gentlemen, we are now in the opening parallel session. It's a wonderful and precious chance for us to be in this special occasion to learn together, especially for me, Anugrah Sam, from University of Sarjanawiyata Tamansiswa, Yogyakarta, Indonesia. As the MC of this fourth International Conference of Technology, Education and Science 2022, Embracing Technology and Collaboration in Academic Publication, under the topic of education. Well, ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys doing well today. This parallel section will be led by our special moderator, Mr. Arnel S. Travero, who already exists in this room. But before the moderator take the lead, let me share some background information of him. So Mr. Arnold S. Travero is a master graduate from College Arts and Science, University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines in teaching mathematics. And he is currently embarking in research field. Hello, Mr. Arnold, how are you today?
Yes, good day, everyone. Good morning from the other side of the world. Good noon from the Philippines. It's a privilege and honor for me to be here this afternoon, seeing people, researchers from various parts of Asia and even the world. Good morning, Sam. Good morning, everyone. Shall we now start, Sam, with the presentation? It seems like everybody is very excited to start already.
Okay, sure. Glad to hear that. Hopefully, all of us are in a good condition, so this conference will run smoothly. Okay, now we have come to our main agenda, and this is an honor for me to please our moderator today. So without further ado, please welcome Mr. Arnold. Time is yours.
Okay. Again, good day, everyone. So in this room, we will be having 5 presenters. Hopefully, all the presenters are already here. Each presentation will be given 15 minutes. Of course, I suppose you already know that. After the 15-minute presentation, there will be about 6 to 10 minutes discussion, question and answer. Thoughts, ideas can be shared. Anybody could raise their hand or write down the questions or thoughts or comments on the chat box, and I'll be reading that question later on to be addressed to the presenter. I hope that the presenters are already ready. Shall we now start? Let's have the presentation of Miss Maria Corazon Saturnina Castro. Ma'am, ready na?
Ready?
Yeah, let's start,
All
ma'am.
right. Okay. Let me just share my what do you call this? My PowerPoint. Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
It's clear. Okay. So, okay, let me. All right. There you go. You know, I'm not a techie, so you have to bear with me. All right. It's good to be back. I was here in 2019 for the first conference, and even if it's just virtually now, I'm still happy to be with the people from UST whom I really adore. They're so very kind to me when I was there. All right, my paper is titled Written Corrective Feedback, Varying Perspectives and Their Implications to Classroom Practices. Error correction. Error correction is one of the most contentious and misunderstood issues in both foreign language and second language teaching. And despite varying positions on the effectiveness of error correction, it has remained an institution in writing classes. Given this context, my paper endeavors to survey prevalent attitudes of teachers and students toward corrective feedback and to examine their implications to classroom practices. Corder defines errors as the result of some failure of performance. Delay, Burt, and Krashen state that errors are the flawed side of a learner's speech or writing. An error is any deviation from a selected norm of language performance, no matter what the characteristics are or the causes may be. Now, My paper poses the major problem: how do teachers' perspectives on corrective feedback match the students' views and expectations about error treatment in their writing? And this big problem is further broken down into smaller questions or into sub-problems. And these are the questions that the paper will address. What are the dominant positions of teachers regarding corrective feedback? What approaches do teachers adopt to correct errors in students' writing? Do students find value in corrective feedback? What specific corrective feedback do students find helpful in their writing? And in what ways do students find corrective feedback helpful? All right, for the methodology, faculty members who taught writing classes from 2017, 2019, and 2022, the first half of 2022 were surveyed. These are faculty members and students of the University of the Philippines in Diliman. Now, I included 2022 because I wanted to see if there has changed, if there are changes in perspectives, no, caused by the pandemic. At the start of the pandemic, we all went online teaching. 126 students enrolled in the writing classes participated in the survey. All right, let's go to the results and analysis. For the question, do you think that errors in writing must be corrected? And do you think that every error must be corrected? 100% of the faculty said errors must be corrected, but only 89% said that not all errors must be corrected in the students' compositions. What are the reasons for not correcting all errors? We can categorize into two major reasons: the affective and the pedagogical. For the affective, students are discouraged when they see a lot of marks on their papers. Even if you use pink or green or blue pen, the fact remains that the students are disheartened by the marks on their paper, and too many corrections may prove overwhelming and counterproductive to revision. Now, for the pedagogical, students must be allowed to find their errors with minimal teacher intervention. Okay, and two faculty members said that errors that are considered acceptable in the variety of English that the student is immersed in need not be corrected. So this is a more tolerant view of errors, no? And this pedagogical position calls for a more comprehensive understanding of the socio-cultural dynamics of teaching English. All right, for the students, do you think that all errors, must be corrected? 97% said yes. And do you think that all errors must be corrected? 77% yes, and 23% said not all errors must be corrected. So there's already a little discrepancy, between the perspectives of the teachers and the students. Now, for the students, all errors must be corrected because that would result in the improvement of knowledge of the language structure and of the composition itself. The comprehensibility of the composition will dramatically improve by addressing all morphological and syntactic weaknesses. A number of students also expressed apprehension that uncorrected errors may have an impact on their future, because employers would definitely prefer students who are proficient in the language. Okay, why do students think that not all errors must be corrected? Now, some of them actually share the views of the faculty. They're counterproductive and disheartening. And also, quite a number said that only fossilized and global errors must be corrected. Now, global errors are the ones that affect the overall sentence organization of the text, and these are the ones that actually cause some problem in the comprehensibility of the composition. Now, given these results, it is important for teachers to provide feedback born out of the recognition that the students come from different levels, and that correction must eventually lead toward independence and learner autonomy. All right, to find out what approaches the teachers adopt to correct errors in the students' writing and what specific feedback do students find helpful in their writing, two related questions were asked. For the teachers, in correcting errors, what kind of corrective feedback do you give, direct or indirect? And if both, you have to qualify your answer. Now, direct feedback means that the teachers simply give the correct linguistic form for the students to copy in the revision. Indirect, teachers can encircle, highlight, okay, the incorrect part, and the students find out for themselves what the errors are, and they on their own. And so these are the results. And for the students, we ask the same question. 90% of the faculty provide both direct and indirect corrective feedback. And the students are aware that their teachers provide both. However, majority, that's 46%, preferred direct feedback. They just copy the correct linguistic form. All right. The teachers believe that indirect feedback is more helpful because students are challenged to process. They think, they compose, and eventually they revise. And for them, direct feedback works well with grammar, while indirect feedback is found suitable in addressing issues in style and organization. Now, giving both types of feedback provides a wider issues for teachers to focus on. Both types allow the teachers to provide a range of comments from grammatical to vocabulary to content organization, even the cultural context of the composition. Now let's go to the students' perspective. Majority of the students prefer direct feedback. And the answer is why? The answer is simple. Convenience is basically the reason for the preference. All right. Studies in second language acquisition have acknowledged the benefits of direct feedback. Lalande in 1982 noted that explicit feedback can help students master the structure of the language. The Ferries also found out that direct feedback led to more correct revision because it's easier, it's faster, and positive results can be seen from the draft to the second draft and to the final paper. Ferries noted, however, that there are at least 3 circumstances in which teachers may consider giving direct feedback. 1, when the students are at the beginning levels. 2, when errors are untreatable. These are the systematic errors. They occur all the time. And 3, when the teacher wishes to focus the student's attention on particular error patterns. Now, to determine the importance of corrective feedback to students, they were asked the question, in what way do you, the students, find corrective feedback helpful in the writing? According to them, corrective feedback raises language awareness. Critical thinking is exercised when processing the professor's comments. Lexical choices and grammatical accuracy are refined, and innovative writing techniques and language control are also developed. Okay, has online teaching affected the views on corrective feedback? Oh, so this is what I gathered from the 2022 survey. Apparently, the perspectives remain the same. The only difference is that now students have apps to edit their own work, and even teachers use apps, Grammarly, to check the students' work, so that now there is less stress in correcting compositions because, well, it is assumed that the compositions have gone through these editing apps. According to one teacher, corrective feedback can go beyond written comments on the student's work. Links to helpful resources related to specific errors are given to students. And students are actually encouraged to search for learning materials that can help them improve as writers independently. All right. Since I only have 15 minutes, I will go straight to the implications of my study. All right. First, teachers should explain corrective feedback philosophies and strategies. That is to say, which errors to address, how errors will be corrected, and when errors will be corrected. So students will be able to manage their own expectations and even their anxieties in receiving feedback. Yeah, it's so stressful to receive marks on your paper. You think you're good, but the teacher thinks otherwise. That could be a problem. Teachers should set realistic goals. It is not quite possible to correct all errors all the time. So the suggestion is that you correct errors across different writing assignments until all errors, all issues are addressed. Teachers must also recognize some issues that relate to second language acquisition. It would be beneficial for both the teacher and the students. Now, if teachers would make themselves familiar with SLA theories and frameworks that would support corrective feedback. And teachers must provide a broad range of commenting strategies. They can ask more information, they can address grammar, they can address style, they can address organization. The survey showed that most of the errors found in the students' compositions are grammar errors. Now, in the Philippines, grammar is taught in the basic education and sometimes also in high school, but not in college. However, if the teacher finds that there are a lot of grammar errors in the compositions of the students, grammar correction can be complemented by grammar instruction even in the tertiary level. So you can allot 1 or 2 sessions to address all those grammar issues. Some errors may be too complicated and may not be addressed through written feedback. Conferencing, therefore, may be more effective. Some teachers indicated that peer evaluation is also an alternative mechanism for corrective feedback. A word of caution, though, teachers must consider students' willingness and the ability to cope with the dynamics of conferencing and peer evaluation. For peer evaluation, sometimes students don't feel like showing their work to their classmates. So there's got to be some consideration for that. All right. The results of the study should make teachers ultimately reevaluate their perspective in corrective feedback. They must begin to address differing perspectives in providing feedback by arming themselves with pedagogical and theoretical issues in SLA and corrective feedback. This way, they will have a better understanding, a better perspective of language processes, and more significantly, of their own teaching. Terima kasih. Thank you so much.
It was a very interesting discussion, Miss Castro, Dr. Castro. It's
Yes.
indeed very disheartening to see your papers being corrected, even if the color of the pen is pink or green.
Definitely, definitely.
true.
You can't see spaces anymore. All you see are marks. That could be disappointing and frustrating for some people.
Indeed, very disheartening. Thank you so much for that. Yes, at this moment, we would like to hear comments from the audience. Anyone who would like to share his thoughts or ideas from the presentation of Dr. Castro? Anybody? Anyone? You may raise your hand or write down on the chat box your questions. Well, it was indeed a very comprehensive discussion, but perhaps you have ideas. Nobody? Perhaps I will start na lang, ma'am. Yes, I'm from the Philippines also, so we share the same sentiments with regards to grammar. Filipinos are indeed grammar Nazi. Ma'am, perhaps I wasn't able to hear this one in your presentation. What was the method being employed in the study?
Design is well, it's a mixed method. I use quantitative, and then I describe the quantitative data. That's why I started administering survey, and from that survey, I analyze. So it's both quantitative and qualitative method.
Ayun, thank you for that, ma'am. It was also good, ma'am, no, that you were able to compare the 2022 students from the previous ones for us to see if there was any difference from both groups. And it was good that we were able to realize that apps are there and everyone can download Grammarly or Turnitin or use that one. So it was actually good. Yes, anyone else who has question to Dr. Castro? Anybody?
But I have some issues with editing apps. because critical thinking will be lost if you just depend on these apps. So it becomes mechanical and automatic when you
yes,
revise
that's
your
correct.
paper. But of course, there are good
I
sides.
also I
There are
also
good
experienced
sides.
that one, ma'am. Even with the algorithm being used, even with the plagiarism
Right,
checker,
right, right,
once you put the term or the words, my name is, and then you put your name, that's already plagiarism.
right, right, right.
Something's wrong with the algorithm. Um, Anyway, thank you for that, ma'am. Anyone else? Questions, everyone? Clarifications or any
Okay,
comments,
may I,
commendations,
Arnold
perhaps?
Traveler? Okay. Yeah,
Yes, yes,
hello. Good
please. Yes, ma'am.
afternoon, Professor Maria Corazon and to
Hi.
all of the participants and presenters here. I don't want to give questions. Actually, I want to give feedback. Okay. Very nice presentation, Prof. Maria. So I do agree with you that effective written feedback provides students with a record of what they are doing well and what needs improvement and suggest the next step. So I think that corrective feedback, written feedback, and then it is really crucial
Right,
for performing the students' progress.
right,
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Kate.
for that, Miss Herda. Yes, that's right. I would agree for that. Yes, anybody else? Anyone? There's none.
I
Okay.
think
Thank
the
you.
Philippines and
Yes, ma'am.
Indonesia share some commonalities when it comes to corrective feedback.
Yes, yes, I also think so. And for you, ma'am, who has been with InCoTes for the past years, you're already a SOP here, no? So we will be expecting that you will be here in the
Oh
next
yes,
years,
definitely,
pa, of course. No, for
definitely.
those
As
who doesn't,
soon as the
who don't,
conference becomes on site, the first flight to Jogja, I will I will take to be
like
with the
sana
with you
all.
guys.
We would also love to have that, but we don't have any budget for face-to-face conference.
Yeah, later on, Prof. Corazon, if you are in Yogyakarta, contact me. Okay, not only Bu
Oh,
Ima.
thank
Yes,
you. Thank you
Right.
okay.
so much. Thank you so
That's
much. My
very nice to
circle of
hear.
friends is expanding. Thank you so much.
Yes.
She is here, actually. Welcome, Bu Ima.
All
Yun.
right. Thank
Thank you
you.
for
Thank
that.
you.
You already have your ano na poster parent when you'll be there. Thank you for that.
All
Anyway, if
right.
there's no more question, it was indeed a very commendable presentation, Miss Castro. Thank you for that. We learned a
Thank
lot from
you.
that.
Thank you, Arnel. You're
Thank
doing a great job, Arnel. Thank you.
Hope to visit UP soon. Soon. Thank you for that, ma'am. Okay, shall we now proceed to our next presenter? Let's have the presentation of Miss Rosana Katrina Herda, ma'am.
Okay, may I start it, Arnel?
Yes, please.
All right. Wait for a moment. All right, Arnel and friends, is it appearing in your screen sharing?
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
All right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone here. I'm so glad to be here. So I'm going to present my research paper entitled Reframing the Five-Dimensional Framework of Authentic Assessments for EFL Classrooms. And I mean that the writers, the authors are, okay, Bu Ima Widyastuti, Prof. Maria Corazon Saturnina E. Castro, and I, Rosana Katrina Herda. Okay, let's go to the outline. There are 6 umbrellas here. The first point is the objectives of assessment. Number 2, the urgency of authentic assessment in 21st century learning, the types and steps of authentic assessment, and then EFL teachers' perspectives. Next point is 5-dimensional framework, and the last but not the least is the proposed model. Let me begin by this one. So, ladies and gentlemen, whenever we are talking about the assessment here, so firstly, I'm going to deliver or explain about the objectives of assessment. There are 2 main purposes of assessment, like what you can see in the slide there.
The first one is to inform the decisions about learning experiences and to report on what has been achieved. And next point, there are some points related to the comparison among assessment for, as, and turf. Assessment for learning, assessment task learning, and assessment turf learning. So for, as, and turf. But we are going to talk about one turf then. So my material today, or the learning material that I'm going to present is related to assessment for learning regarding the process, okay, regarding the process. So this one, the crucial problem in this 21st century learning is the proportion. So the proportion of teachers' attention is always on the assessment of learning. So the assessment that has product, okay, that have products related to the final score, and it is identical with the numerical value. And in this case, this is the main point related to the kind of assessment, the authentic assessment. So what is this? I believe that all of you here, have known about this. So learning becomes authentic when the assessment will be directed to students' own doing, thinking, and reflecting. Briefly, I can say that authentic assessment is linked to the student's performance. Secondly, the authentic assessment is specific enough to identify characteristics of assessment that make them authentic. So become, real, and then mirroring the real world tasks. And then go on. So this is the second umbrella, okay? The urgency of authentic assessment in 21st century learning. Whenever we are discussing about 21st century learning score scale, okay, it consists of 4 C's. The first one is creative thinking, and then collaboration, okay, all of them using C, collaboration, and then critical thinking, creativity, and the next point is communication. So as an EFL teacher, all of us here as EFL teachers, we should pay attention more on that core skills. And firstly, the 21st century learning scale here focuses on the transformation in the educational environment and globalization and internalization. And then it affects the teaching and learning process, the pedagogical strategy. And the next point related to the assessment, this one. So there is, there are competences. There are some competences here that they focus on ensuring that learning is multi-dimensional. And the term authentic here is often used as meaning mirroring the real world task, real world situation. And learning becomes so authentic, becomes so real whenever the assessment will be directed to students' own doing, thinking, and reflecting. And the last, the 8 critical elements. So the 8 critical elements of authentic assessment. And now, okay, the 6 types of authentic assessment. Okay, the first one is interview. The students will perform interview. So we can measure, okay, not only about testing, but I am talking about assessing them. And the second point is reconstructed question, retelling text or story, portfolio, and finally the project. Or we can say, okay, the modern era in this digital learning, digital era in 21st century learning, the project is linked to the project-based learning or PBL. So in this case, all of the characteristics of authentic assessment, okay, from the context, the student's role, and then the scoring activity or the scoring process. And then this one, everybody, how to assess the students objectively. Okay, so we are going to, or we should pay attention on designing the rubric. Okay, both and holistic and analytic ones. The first is identifying the standards. So the first step or the first phase is identifying the standards. Secondly, selecting an authentic task. And the third one, identifying the criteria for the task. And finally, creating the rubric. So rubric becomes the guideline for the teacher. I mean, not only EFL teachers, but all of the teachers. We can monitor the students' progress at that time by using or mirroring the real world situation. And in this case, this is my case. So in this case, it is the items, questionnaire items. Table 1, the teacher's perspectives on designing authentic assessment. So there are some points or some statements in my developed questionnaire. And then we involved 37 participants here, consisting of 27 English lecturers in Indonesia, and then 10 English teachers from junior and senior high schools. Okay. And in this case, there are two crucial points. Okay, I mean that this point is really crucial. So based on the diagrams or based on the pie charts here, the first statement is, for me, the achievement of the achievement of student learning outcomes is also indicated through competence as a real performance in the classroom. And you can see on your screen that 40.5%, okay, they strongly agree with this statement. And then, strongly agree. And then 48.6%, okay, the teachers, they said agree with this statement. So later on, let's move on to the second section. For me, the achievement of student learning outcomes is absolutely indicated by numerical values. Okay, I just want to know about the teacher's perspective, yes or no, agree or disagree. And it indicates that 54.1% teacher, okay, they stated disagree, they chose disagree. And by having this result, so I believe that the teacher actually needs authentic assessment that consists of covering the guidelines, how to conduct, how to do the real authentic assessment. Not only put the score 85 for Arnel Travero and then 95 for Imawidya Sutino, but there will be the measurement point and the criteria. And yeah, this one, the first point here is common assessments conducted in the classes and memory, which is not beneficial for student progress. Let us make connection with to the 21st century learning. It is not about the progress in memorizing, okay, related to the Bloom's taxonomy too. So we are going to move on to the critical values. And then most teachers have applied authentic principles, but they do not know the components that should be included as the assessment consideration. So they are the points that become my conclusion, our conclusion in my research, or is that the research activity. And number 3, since the teachers need the guideline for conducting or for doing authentic assessment. So we adopt, okay, the writers adopt Glickers et al.'s 5-dimensional framework of 5 dimensions of authenticity. Okay, so there are authentic assessment tasks, the assessment tasks, and number 2, the physical context, and then the social context, the result of form, and the last one is the assessment criteria. Okay, so this one, everybody. Yeah, the assessment task, the first dimension here is assessment task. So teachers should think about what do you have to do, okay, about the virtual or physical contact, where do you have to do it? inside the classroom, inside the school, or outside. Okay. And then the social context, to whom do you have to do it? And it should be similar to a context that takes place outside of school and includes both collaborative and individual aspect. Okay. And then assessment result. What is the result of your efforts should include a product or performance. So think about the 4 scales of English: listening, reading, and then and so on. Yeah, okay, the 4 scales in English. And then the assessment criteria, how will what you have done be judged? Now, the criteria or standards should be explicitly provided before beginning the task. So there is a parameter. There is a parameter becoming the guideline for the teachers to assess the students. Okay. Yes, okay. This is the previous study. I'm going to send it whenever you may, or I mean you ask this. So look at the highlight point, the yellow ones: assessment type, physical or virtual contact, and social contact. I said, or I have mentioned before, that the 5-dimensional framework of authentic assessment covering 5 aspects or 5-dimensional points. But in this previous study, the researcher conducted a learning process, learning activity that only covered assessment task, physical or virtual contact, and then social contact. It means that we can choose one of them, maybe, or all of them. Okay, so it depends on the necessity. And this is our proposed model. So you may see on your screen that the 5-dimensional aspects or the 5-dimensional framework, okay, are included here, from the virtual and physical contact, and then social contact, authentic assessment task, and then authentic assessment result, and then the criteria. Okay. Yeah. So in this case, everyone, that I can't, the conclusion, okay, briefly, we can say that teachers should be competent in designing authentic assessment for their students. Okay, all right, and I do agree with what I have written here, that in the real social context and the how to measure the students' performance in real situation, the EFL teachers should perform well in assessing the students, not only students that should perform well, in reaching their target or their goal in learning process. And number 2, the writers propose, okay, a model of authentic assessment by adapting Gallagher et al.'s 5-dimensional framework. This is, okay, once again, as the guideline. Okay, you may choose one of them, 2 of them, or 5. Okay, the 5, all of them. And then the last one is related to the implication. So the purpose model related to the reframing the dimensional framework, okay, the 5-dimensional framework used by English educators, the EFL teachers, practitioners who need insight into the practice to conduct an authentic assessment and improve the variety of real-world instruction and the procedures. Okay, Arnel and Bapak Ibu, I think that is all enough of my presentation today. Okay, thank you so much, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for that very informative presentation, Professor Herda. I myself is an assessment of learning teacher, so I share the same sentiments with regards to the authentic assessment. Thank you for that. Yes, let's hear comments, questions, perhaps, or thoughts, ideas, recommendations from our audience. Anybody? Anyone? You may raise your hand or write down your questions, recommendations, comments in our chat box. Anyone?
Yeah, and maybe some experiences, okay, from all of you. Arnold from the Philippines, for example, Aisha from Indonesia. Come on.
Yes, anyone? perhaps they really were able to understand everything. It was a very comprehensive presentation. Anyway, let's start with me na lang po. Again, I am handling assessment of learning at the moment. You presented 6 types of authentic assessment, which was very informative for me. Perhaps I'll be integrating that one in my class later on.
All right.
But perhaps I wasn't able to see it clearly po. But I only able to see 5 types presented. Please help me remember. The first one is interview. We have the pre-constructed question, retelling text or story, portfolio, and then project. What's the other one po?
All right. Interview, pre-constructed question, retelling text or story, portfolio, and project. Okay, let me check again, Arnel. So sorry. All right. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Actually, typo, Arnold. So what I have presented, okay, it is not 6 but 5. Okay, the points are right. Okay, the correct ones. Okay.
So,
Yes.
thank
this
you for the
one.
clarification po.
Thanks
Thank you for that.
for
It's
reminding
not
me.
clarified.
5.
Yes, there are 5 types of authentic assessment. Okay, integration of those assessment later on. Anyone else? Anybody who would like to give commendation or any comments?
Yeah, Arnel,
Anyone?
may I?
Yes, Professor Castro, please.
Yes, I first of all, I'd like to commend Kate for coming up with such framework. So this is a different way to look at assessment. But this is a proposal. And I think the tasting of the pudding will be if you actually do this in the classroom. So maybe Kate and some collaborators can actually use this in a longitudinal study to find out if it's effective or not. In the same way that my study is also the first phase. So after the survey, what comes next?
All right.
So after the presentation of the proposal, what comes next? So maybe for future collaboration, Kate, we can administer this in our own classes and find out its effectivity.
All right. Yes,
Yes.
Maria. Thanks for the challenge. Okay.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I was also trying to materialize with that. I would like to suggest po if or ask if ever when will be the publication of your study such that we'll be able to adapt the model. Because it would be a citation for you if ever we are going to adapt the proposed model. It was actually very good and we would love to adapt it in
Thank
our
you,
classroom
Arnold.
setting. Yes. Thank you for that, Professor Castro. Anyone else? Anybody? Anyone? Calling once, twice? Well, everything was very well presented, so I think there are no questions. Thank you for that commendable presentation, Miss Herda. Thank you for that. Okay, shall we now proceed to our next presenter? Our next presenter happened to be having his PhD class at the moment, so he sent a link to his presentation. So allow me to share my screen. If I can share the presentation from YouTube. Can my screen be seen in your end, everyone?
It's still trying.
just for checking. May I know all presenters have already presented or not? Hello?
Hello, Vima.
Yeah. May I know all the presenters have they had already the presentation?
Miss Ima,
Mhm.
we are still on the third presentation po.
No, I just want to check because I'm checking for each room, for the room because on the other rooms they have already finished, but I need to check in this room. So now you are on the second.
On the third presenter po.
Okay, on the third.
On the third.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, allow me to share my screen again, everyone. Where is it? Was it clear? Was it heard clearly po?
No.
It's not. Perhaps I was having technical difficulties. Miss Sam, can you do the sharing? I'll send to you the link of the YouTube. I think I'm having technical difficulties.
Yes, I will try. You may send me the link through the chat box. Okay, I've got it.
Learners with disabilities based on
Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to present our paper with title Strategies for Entrepreneurs with Disabilities based on Porter's Model. And we are here, presenters are coming from two different universities, Khazar University in Azerbaijan and Universitas Sarjanawiyata, Tamansiswa, Indonesia. And the presenters, the first one is me, Martin Fleming Panggabian, and the second one, Ududa Wahid and Yuyun Yulia. As the agenda of our presentation today is introduction, I will tell about the background of our research and then continue with the method that we use for our research, and followed by the results and discussion and conclusion and also recommendation. Okay, so talking about our paper, before I start with the explanation about our paper, I would like to share with you that Indonesia as the host for G20 summit, we have a concern, Indonesia have a concern that people with disabilities is one of the key major topic, key major area that underlined by the Indonesian government. And I would like to quote, one of the key person from the Ministry of Manpower in Indonesia, Ibu Hayani Rumondang. She said that when it comes to employment protection for persons with disabilities, government is committed to providing inclusive protection. Okay, so she emphasizes on the employment protection for the people with disabilities. The second one, she emphasizes on equality in employment. So the equality of employment is start from the process of recruitment job placement, job training, and so on. Yeah, so she said this in a conference of manpower and sustainability, which was held in September 8 to 9, 2020. So what is the implication of this? As the implication of this, she wants to emphasize that at least 2% of the employees in the government institution, here we say it as a state-owned enterprises, or BUMN and BOD, must employ the people with disabilities. Yeah. Next, not only for the state-owned enterprises, but also for the private sectors must employ at least 1%, yeah, of the total number of employees that they employ. Yeah. But unfortunately, the implementation of these rules still far from our expectation. Okay, so yeah, why it is happening? Because the people with disabilities, they have limited opportunity, yeah, to access education and to access the facilities of education. And in addition to that, they have a poorer nutrition and health outcomes. So that's why not only the state-owned enterprises, but also the private sectors, so they cannot get, yeah, the potential candidate from the people with disabilities. Okay, so in other words, yeah, Indonesia still fails to develop, yeah, a more inclusive labor market to provide better job opportunities to these people, which is the people with disabilities. So as the consequences, there are a lot of numbers of them still unemployed by not only the state-owned enterprises, but also by private sectors. Therefore, as an alternative, it is really recommended, yeah, to encourage them to embrace, yeah, to catch, yeah, the entrepreneurship, because by the entrepreneurship, they can do the like a self-employment, okay, and this is going to be like a valuable and viable options for them, because they can do the job, yeah, independently, yeah, by themselves, but they have to gain or they have to access like many opportunities. Later I will talk about this, and I will call it as an ecosystem of entrepreneurship. Okay, so people with disabilities actually, yeah, they could become entrepreneurs if they can have an access or they can have a skills. And yeah, as I said before, later I'll talk about this as an entrepreneurship ecosystem. However, yeah, this is part of our interest why we raised this study, because the study of entrepreneurship in people with disabilities in terms of competitiveness is still unusual, and not many papers, not many studies, yeah, have been done regarding this area, yeah, this area of studies. So the purpose of our study is to explore the strategy development of startup business, or in refer to our terminology here is entrepreneurship ecosystem competitiveness for entrepreneurs with disabilities. Okay, for the method that we use for our paper, for our study, is we use, yeah, the conceptual framework of the analysis by using Porter's model. You know that Porter's model is used to construct an analytical framework that helps in the assessments of competitiveness of entrepreneurship ecosystem. Okay, and this model comprises of 4 fundamental elements, which is factor condition, demand condition, firm strategy, structure and rivalry, and related and supporting industry. Plus, we also add another 2 major variables, which is government and chance. And along with this model, we also use the literature review as part of our method. And this is the diagram of the Porter's models. And you can see here, yeah, there are firm strategy, structure rivalry, demand condition, factor condition, and related and supporting industries. Okay. Okay, as the results and discussions, I would like to drill it down to 3 points. The first one, let's see the situation of disabled people in Indonesia. And the second one, yeah, the importance of entrepreneurship for disability. And the third one is Porter model for entrepreneurship ecosystem for disability. All right, so the first one, disability overview in Indonesia. According to the survey, which is done by SUSENAS or National Social Economic Survey in March 2019, there's a huge number of disabled people in Indonesia, which is around 20.3 million people. It's like counted like 9% of total population in Indonesia. And among the 23.3 million, 55.5% or approximately like 12.9 million are female, and 44.5% are male, or 10.4 million. And 2.2% or approximately 5.7 million experiencing severe disability. So this is very unfortunate situation, because when they have a very severe disability, of course, they cannot do any kind of activity, they cannot work, they cannot do or make money for themselves. And this is the tabular data, as you can see here. According to the age group, most of the disabled peoples are in the category of, like, we can say like a productive age, like from 19 to 59, yeah, and also from 7 to 18, yeah. So most of these people with disabilities falls into the category of productive age people. And this is the charts or the data which calculated in 2020. It shows that disability prevalence and economic status in Indonesia by age. So what can we describe from these graphs of this tabular data? It says here that the majority of people with disabilities do not work because they lack of skills and education, while for people with disabilities who work, mostly work in the informal sector, and like for example in the private sectors and state-owned enterprise. That's why entrepreneurship is kind of alternative for them, for the employment strategy for them, because by encouraging them to do the entrepreneurship, it can lead to the economic self-sufficiency for the people with disabilities. In addition to that, people with disabilities, by being exposed strategies for us, to promote or to recommend regarding the entrepreneurship ecosystem competitiveness. The first one is about the human capital and entrepreneurship culture. Next is about access to finance and incentive. And next one is business development support and infrastructure. And next one is innovation and technology. And next one is policy and regulatory framework. And the last one is access to the market. We will see it one by one. In fact, entrepreneurship education, in the formal education system and other capacity building program have been already done by not only formal institution, but also by informal institution. But we need to encourage people with disabilities to join this entrepreneurship education. We have to embrace them, so that they are willing to take part on this entrepreneurship education. Okay, next one. People with disabilities, they have interests actually, to be honest, they actually have an interest to become entrepreneurs. Okay, so this is a very good point, right? Next one, programs and facilities supporting the development of human capital and entrepreneurship culture. Okay, so they're actually in community, in societies, they have programs or facilities, not only by the government, but actually from for example, from organizational like NGOs, they're really concerned about these programs and creating facilities to support, people with disabilities with these kind of programs. Okay, next one, actually, it's easy to find the talent, with from the people with disabilities who wants to learn about entrepreneurship system for them. So what are the access to finance and incentive? The first one is the availability and accessibility of different financing options and incentive for people with disabilities entrepreneurs provided by the government and financing institutions. Yeah, of course, government still struggling, to give the access to finance for this kind of groups. It's also, in addition to that, financing situations like banking, they also are struggling to provide their access to finance for the people with disabilities. Next one is incentive for investor or funders to support people with disabilities. Of course, this is really important because we also need to encourage the funders or investors, to facilitate the people with disabilities, because without giving them like incentive, maybe they are being hesitate, to facilitate people with disabilities with the access to finance. Next one is financial literacy and understanding of different financing options among PWDs people and PWDs entrepreneurs. Okay, so this is the second recommendation that we promote. We can say that to the people with disabilities, incubators, accelerators, efforts to develop business development support system and infrastructure for people with disabilities entrepreneurs. Sorry. So the key point here is, of course, we have to also create more incubators and accelerators which concern for people with disabilities who really want to be entrepreneurs. Okay, and the next one is accessibility to physical infrastructure. Next one, innovation and technology. Of course, this is really important for those people with disabilities. Innovation and technology can support the available and accessible to people with disabilities entrepreneurs, right? And of course, the use of digital solution and technology for business development. And next one is efforts to support PWDs aspiring entrepreneurs to innovate and use technology in business operation. The next one is innovation and technology and other supporting elements. It may further advance the development of PWD's entrepreneurship. Okay, so this is all about innovation and technology, which can help to ease that people with disabilities who really want to be entrepreneurs. Next one is about policy and regulatory framework. And of course, the government of Indonesia, they have already set some regulations, some rules to support the implementation of entrepreneurship, especially for people with disabilities, not only entrepreneurship, but also for the employment. Okay, so what are the policy and regulatory framework? Here, the first one is existence and implementation of policies and regulatory frameworks which are relevant to and supportive to people with disabilities entrepreneurship. Next one is efforts to develop the policy and regulatory framework. All right, and the last one is the extent to which bureaucratic and legal structures and processes related to business origination and development are PWS friendly, right? And the last one is about access to market. Fortunately, talking about access to market actually has been incorporated into all the other domains, except the policy and regulatory framework. All right. So we are in the conclusion part. So according to our paper, we conclude that people with disabilities, they still have difficulties in competing for employment with non-disabled person. That's why we need an alternative for them so that they can be independent, they can gain access to skills, they can be entrepreneurs so that they can make money for themselves. Okay, next one. We would like to look at Indonesia, still, and must have to continue to work on progressing a better policy and program framework to support people with disability. Of course, creating a very conducive and competitive entrepreneurship ecosystem is very important. And the last one, understanding the like people with disabilities and facilitating them with a conducive entrepreneurship ecosystem, it can hopefully trigger a profitable business because we are now going to enter the Indonesia bonus demography in 2030. Of course, you don't want that more unemployed people, especially from this group, will be existed in 2030 in the bonus demography. Okay, so I think that's all. Thank you so much for your very kind attention. That's all from our group. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Martin Fleming Pangabien. It was a very heartwarming study. Anyone who would like to share his thoughts, ideas, suggestions, comments, or commendation to our presenter? Anybody from the audience? Anyone? Anyone? I think that there's none. It was indeed a very good presentation. So I suppose everyone was able to imbibe all the things that was presented by Professor Pangabien. Shall we now proceed to our fourth presenter? Let's have the presentation of Professor Lydia Tultita. Prof, are you around? Professor Lydia Tultita?
Yes, yes.
Okay, there you go. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, hello everyone.
Yes, ma'am, hello.
Yes, okay. Welcome to my presentation. This is contribution of organizational and teacher candidates. The demand of teachers today are faced with the development on the 21st century technological changes and the characteristic of this generation of students who are globally connected and networked in virtual world. Characteristic students always different from generation to generation. Everyone has different genetic traits and grow up in relatively different educational and social circles. Teacher must upgrade his abilities. Teacher-partner programs one alternative to improve the quality of a teacher. Student of FKIP Western sets for becomes a teacher both creative and innovative as well as have soul and a teacher planner. Campus organizations have big enough role because they can shape the integrity of students. External factors and influence interest in entrepreneurship includes the family environment, community environment, opportunities, and education. Campus organizations become a forum for activities for students to develop interests, talents, and skills for the members. Research objectives to know: number one, contribution of organizational activity to teacher study of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education. Universitas Sarjanawiyata Tamansiswa, academic years 2029 to 2022.
Level teacher-partner student of the Faculty of Teacher-partner Training and Education, Universitas Sarjanawiyata Tamansiswa Academic Years 2020. Analyze the level or organization from the Faculty of Teachers Training and Education, Universitas Sarjanawiyata Tamansiswa Academic Years 2021-2022. Theoretical review. Number 1, teacher-partner. Teacher-partner definition, teacher-partner, character teacher-partner, source teacher-partner, and factor affecting teacher-partner. Number 2, organization student affairs. Definition, organization student affairs, benefits follow students who are active in organization, and FKIV students USA definition, student education characteristics, student and private learning outcomes. Research method. Research was conducted at the Faculty of Teachers Training and Education, UST Yogyakarta. Research time, this research started in July and August 2022. Population and sample. Population, management student, FKIV campus organization who are actively organizing for the academic years 2021 to 2022, totaling 122 students. Management student at the campus organization who are actively organizing for the academic years, totaling 55 students. Slovene technique. Technique collection data. Number 1, questionnaire and documentation. Test validity activities organized. Criteria test validity if are count bigger or table, so-called says questionnaire valid, and if are count smaller or table, so questionnaire study says no valids. No valids number 7 and number 9 and last number 18. Test validity teacher-partner. Criteria test validity if our count bigger or table, so-called set questionnaire valid, and if our count smaller or table, so questionnaire study sets no valids. No valids number 10, number 13, and number 17. Data analysis techniques. Number 1, descriptive analysis. Number 2, prerequisite test and hypothesis. Test reliability for variable active organisms and teacher-partner very reliable because our count bigger or stable. Distribution and histogram frequency organizational activity. Based on stable distribution and frequency histogram of the variable of organizational activity, it can be said the organizational activity of FKIP Yogyakarta student is the very active category. And based on stable histogram frequency private teacher-partner, it can be concluded that students of FKIP Yogyakarta who are teacher-partners as with Yogyakarta as the good category. Test hypothesis correlation for the woman. The result of the study obtained score significant value of concluded or organizational activity contributes to teacher-partner student active Western Yogyakarta years academic 2021 to 2022. It is raised. Conclusion, based in results of the research, is it can be concluded that the analysis. Number 1, organizational activity West Yogyakarta student for 2021 to 2022 academic years. So level such a partner ICAP West Yogyakarta student are is goods category. And the last one, the activity of FKI West Yogyakarta student for the 2021 to 2022 academic year is the very active category. Suggestion for FKIP West Yogyakarta: provide freedom for students to develop freedom of thought, openness, aspiration, think critically, rationally, and innovatively. For student organization, students who are active in the management of student organization must be able to manage time well so that student activity is organization does not interfere with lecture time is class and does not affect the achievement index of students so that they can graduate on time. Every organizational activity can be a profession for students to think critically, creatively, and innovatively as prospective teacher for our software teacher panel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Professor Lydia Tulkita. Well, I learned a new word for today, teacherpreneur. Yes, I'll be using that one. Anyone who would like to share his or her comments or thoughts, suggestions, questions, or commendation to our presenter? Anybody? Anyone? Was the presentation really clear? Well, I suppose it was really clear. So if there's no more question, then let's proceed to our last presenter. Is Professor Yuyun Yulia around? Professor Yulia? Hello? Miss Sam, please check if Professor Yulia is in this session.
Well, he is here, but he's not joined.
Ah, okay. He
Yeah.
has not joined.
I have put her in room 3, but he is not joined. He's
I
not joining
see.
right now.
Will he or she be presenting?
She, oh yeah, she, okay.
She,
Oh
sorry,
my
sorry,
God.
sorry.
Sorry, my bad.
Will she be presenting?
Oh, I don't know.
Do you have connection to her? Can you message her?
Okay, I'll try.
Miss Sam, you are really sure that she was here a while ago?
She is here a while ago. She was here
But
a while ago.
she might have experienced some technical difficulties, no?
Sure.
I think she is also not in the main room. So in that case, then we can say that she won't be able to present. Am I right?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Probably. Okay. So that means that the presentation of Professor Pilkita is the last presentation. Thank you so much, everyone, for gracing us with your presence this morning or this day. We are hoping that this session was able to provide linkages and connections to us to do researches internationally and do publication collaboration with all the people who are here with us this day. Again, this is Arnel Travero from the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines, your parallel session moderator this morning. Miss Sam, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mr. Arnold from University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines for bringing us to a very productive session in this room. Hopefully what we have learned today can be useful. Well, on behalf of the fourth InCoTes committee, we would like to express our gratitude by giving a certificate as appreciation to the moderator. But I think the certificate will be delivered later after this session. And well, ladies and gentlemen, finally we are in the end of this session. But before we end this meeting, I would like to share some announcements. First, to all of the participants, don't forget to fill the attendance through the provided link on the chat box or WhatsApp group. And then all the participants will receive appreciation certificate after the session end. And last, we will have some documentation. Well, to all of the participants, could you please open your camera? We will take a picture together. Okay, let me speak in bahasa kepada Bapak Syarif. Boleh minta tolong untuk screenshot Bapak Syarif Fajarudin.
Siap, ya Bu.
Okay. Okay. Everyone ready? So we will start to take a picture together. 1, 2, 3. Smile, everyone.
Mana ini?
Okay. Again, should we take again, Pak Syarif?
Oke.
Okay. Sudah. Okay. Baik, terima kasih Pak Syarif, and thank you everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, on behalf of the committee, we would like to say thank you for joining the fourth InCoTes, and we are looking forward to meeting you on the fifth InCoTes in 2023. Have a great day, everyone. I'm Anugrah Sam, signing off. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Salam dan bahagia.
Thank you, Prof. Maria.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Hi, Maria.
Oh ya.
Yeah, thank you, Arnel.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
Prof. Maria Patoro po.
Do you know each other?
Right. Prof.
Maria,
Didi,
do you know
yes,
Mr. Arnel?
No,
Just
ma'am.
here.
We don't know
No,
each other.
So
Just
this is
here.
the first time you meet each other.
Yes,
Yeah, you
yes.
know me, Miss Friendship.
Ah, I see. That's very nice. We can, what is that? Know each other even though we
We're
don't know
far
yet.
apart from each
before.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that's a
Thank
very
you.
great opportunity we can meet each other. Ah, Pak Adi.